Hello, and welcome to the Captain's Info presentation for Kickball at UTA Intramural Sports. This presentation is regarding the Fall 2019 semester. In this presentation, we'll cover our policies, where we play, the rules of the game, our scheduling software, IMLeagues, and the league schedule, awards for our champions, upcoming events, and how to contact us. My name is Matt Holmquist, and I'm the coordinator for sport programs here at Campus Recreation. Travis Langford is the assistant director for sport programs. You will be interacting mostly with our student officials, the student supervisors, and the student program assistants, who is the highest level of management on any given night of activities. If you need to contact us, you can do so at imsports@uta.edu. Our website is uta.edu/intramuralsports. You can find links to our rules, handbook, policies and procedures, as well as other events that are going on at Campus Recreation. IMLeagues is our scheduling software that we'll talk about. The rules in the handbook can also be found on IMLeagues. Eligibility to play intramural sports is available to current UTA students, faculty and staff that have a MAC membership, and Campus Recreation membership holders. All of these are allowed to participate in intramural sports activities. Alumni must have a membership to play. All players are required to check in with the ID checker before the game. If you don't have your ID, you cannot play that night. 2 Campus Recreation membership holders are allowed on a team, maximum. The MAC members must show proof of membership to play. Players are not allowed to play on 2 different teams in the same division. A random eligibility check is held on the field, and a full check is held in the intramural sports office. If the game in which a player signs in is a forfeit, they're still considered to have played in that game and to be on that team's roster. Players may be added at any point in the season or postseason, so should you have problems finding players on a given night, you can still add to your roster. Game time is forfeit time. If your team forfeits once, they will be assessed a $25 forfeit fee, and that fee has to be paid before the next scheduled game. If a team forfeits twice, they will be charged another forfeit fee, but will be ineligible for the playoffs. If the fee goes unpaid, the team will be dropped from the league altogether. Players will not be allowed to switch teams after the second week of the season. If they choose to do so before the second week, they have to sit out a minimum of 1 week as a waiver wire transfer penalty between teams. Our sportsmanship system is as follows. Teams will be awarded a sportsmanship grade for each game based on their conduct. A 4.0 or an A is above and beyond conduct and sportsmanship. Good conduct and sportsmanship will be assigned a B or a 3. Average conduct and sportsmanship is a 2. Below average conduct and sportsmanship is a 1. And an F or 0 points is poor conduct and sportsmanship. Teams must maintain a 2.5 average in order to be eligible for playoffs. And once in the playoffs, a team must maintain that 2.5 average in order to remain in the playoffs. The way our structure works in the playoffs is that every team makes the playoffs except for those that don't qualify because of sportsmanship or forfeit. Unsportsmanlike behavior will result in a caution, which is a yellow card, ejection, suspension, or, if the conduct is severe enough, judicial hearing or dismissal from school. In all of our intramural sports sites, there is no smoking, no alcohol, and no tobacco products. All intramural sports participants play at their own risk. However, the Department of Campus Recreation encourages all participants to have medical insurance in case of injury. Every team makes the playoffs, except for teams that have 2 or more forfeits, or teams that default or forfeit greater than a combined 50% of their scheduled games, or any teams with less than a 2.5 sportsmanship average. If there are enough teams, there will be 2 divisions, a competitive bracket with teams that have a win-loss record above 500, and teams that have a win-loss record below 500 will go into the recreational bracket. During playoffs, the scheduling is done online, and the priority of selection has to do with the standings, the seed during the regular season. That's decided primarily by win-loss record, and a tiebreaker will be sportsmanship, and then which team has more forfeits or defaults, if they've played head-to-head, and finally our last tiebreaker is points against. Unfortunately, it is impossible to ensure that every team plays at their usual time, so be prepared to play on a date-time that is not unusual. We don't reschedule games. Remember, you can still add players all the way through the championship game. We play at the Campus Recreation Fields Complex. If you search intramural fields in Google Maps, it'll take you right there. It's at the intersection of Mitchell and Fielder, and you must have your ID to enter at all times, no exceptions. There's no alcohol allowed, no tobacco, no smoking or vaping, but pets are allowed at the Campus Recreation Fields Complex. For equipment, all players must wear athletic shoes. This means no bare feet, flip-flops, metal cleats, or boots. There's no jewelry allowed. Players will be issued a yellow card if they are caught wearing metal spikes and ejected if they injure someone with those metal spikes. For kickball, teams must have 6 minimum to start. 7 players play in the field at a time, but up to 10 can pat, so that means you can have up to 3 extra hitters. For co-rec, each team must have at least 3 players of each gender on defense at all times. There are no restrictions on the gender of extra hitters, kickers, or on alternating male-female throughout the lineup for co-rec. If courtesy runners are used, they must be the last batted out of the same gender. Each team must submit a lineup to the intramural sports supervisor before the game begins. For co-rec teams, they can set the lineup at whatever order regardless of gender, but a lineup must still be submitted. The field will be played on slow-pitch softball-based paths. 15-foot foul arch will be drawn in front of the plate, and a 150-foot home run arch will be drawn in the outfield. If the ball passes beyond the arch in the air, it's a home run. Defensive players cannot catch the ball beyond the arch for an out. If the defensive player has 2 feet in bounds within the arch and catches the ball before crossing the arch, it is an out. Here's a diagram of the 15-foot foul arch and the 150-foot home run arch. For the timing of the game, teams will play 7 innings or 50 minutes. No new inning may be started after 50 minutes. The drop-dead time happens when, at the end of 50 minutes, a 5-minute period begins. Teams have an additional 5 minutes to finish that inning. At the end of 5 minutes, the game is final, and the current score is the final score, no matter what the game situation is. The drop-dead time will only be given if necessary. For example, if the home team is batting and winning at the end of the 50-minute time period, that game will not need to go into drop-dead time. The mercy rule will go into effect when a team is ahead by 15 runs after 3 innings, 10 runs after 4 innings, or 8 runs after 5 innings. If teams are not present at game time, the team has 10 minutes to sign in with minimum number of players. At game time, the opposing team will be awarded the home team and will bat first. The team that is late will forfeit their first at bat. The home team will be awarded 1 point for each minute the opposing team is not ready for play. After 10 minutes, it will be a forfeit, and the final score is 10-0. The winning team is awarded an A in sportsmanship, and the forfeiting team is awarded a C, or a 2. Teams pitch the ball to themselves. The pitcher can take a walking start, but at the part of delivery, they have to have 1 foot on the pitching rubber. Offense must get the ball back to the pitcher unless the defense supplies a catcher. The offense may supply a catcher if they desire, for purposes of covering home plate, but it is not required. This counts as one of the players in the field. The ball must reach home plate before it is kicked. For batting/kicking, the teams will have 3 rolls to put the ball in play, meaning that if the 3rd roll is fouled, it's an out. The teams must kick the ball in between the foul lines and beyond the 15-foot foul arch. A ball kicked beyond the home run arch that we discussed previously will be dead immediately and called a home run. On a home run, the kicker just touches first base, then returns to their own dugout. A fly ball caught in foul territory cannot be run on. For fielding, there is no infield practice after the first inning. The pitcher will get 1 warm-up pitch per inning, and then it's time to start. It's normal kickball. Pegs are allowed. The peg must be below the head in a normal standing or running position. For any peg in the head, all runners will advance 2 bases from the base they last touched before the ball was thrown. For bench decorum, non-players are not allowed on the team bench. The exception is that you can have 1 non-player coach in the bench area. 1 coach will be permitted to address officials and ask for substitutes. Teams are responsible for the behavior of that coach. Teams are also responsible for the fans. Teams will play 2 games per week back-to-back. We will notify all players via IM leagues if the game is canceled due to weather. We will also post on our social media sites, so please follow us at UTA IM Sports on Twitter. Please ensure that your players are on the roster before the first game. Because new this fall, intramural sports staff will not add players to the roster on site. They may assist captains if there are any questions, but it is the responsibility of the captain to add or approve roster additions. Staff will not manually add players at the fields. The awards for champions include a t-shirt for the competitive division champions and a wing party. For the t-shirt, a player must play in at least 2 games, including the playoffs, to be eligible for their t-shirt. If a player misses the championship game, but they played in 2 games throughout the season and playoffs, they can come into the intramural sports office to pick up their shirt as late as the end of the semester. Each team will also receive a wing party at Pluckers in Arlington. This is good for 100 wings per team, and you must present the coupon to receive the wings. Even though you're receiving 100 free wings, you're still being served by the staff, so please tip them as if you were ordering 100 wings. You must use this coupon before the end of the semester, which is defined as the Friday after graduation. Be on the lookout to register for these upcoming events, such as Kickball, which ends registration on September 16th, Men's and Women's Flag Football, which ends on September 30th, Indoor Volleyball, October 7th, 3v3 Basketball, October 14th, and Indoor Cricket, which will complete registration on October 21st. Time slots for these leagues are first come, first served, just like they were for outdoor soccer. We also have Oozeball, which is mud volleyball, our #1 tradition on campus as voted by students. Sign up for that soon. The event date is September 28th. Here's our contact information, website, phone number, email. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.